what we do.
You should watch this show because kickball is the only thing you care about, and the Ad Rock Show is the only show you want to watch all day.
That's a shocker.
This show is brought to you by CustomMake.com. Get your official custom outfit for Kickball 365.
All right, this week on First to Third, we got Casey back with us for a Virginia Beach Kickball Open after-action report. Casey's captain of the runner-up of the tournament, Fully Loaded. They had a great run. And author of the in-depth analysis, a pre-tournament breakdown that examined some of the teams, and he had some predictions. So we're going to take a look back at Casey's predictions and see how he did. How's it going, Casey?
I'm doing pretty good. I wish the runner-up was more of a championship team captain thing. But
I hear you, man. But that Panic Attack squad looked pretty brutal.
Yeah, man, they're pretty nasty. It's make one mistake and the game's pretty much over with them. So
I hear you. Well, let's get down to it. Looking at the analysis right now, the first team you had was the favorite, of course, defending their home turf, Panic Attack. You picked them to win. They won. What do you think?
I mean, it's pretty much now down to either Panic Attack or Meatballs. And I think someone posted on the board today is someone besides Panic Attack or Meatballs going to win a tournament. Obviously I'd like to think yes, but it's not looking that way. The thing with Panic Attack is that they're just so deep, and they have three or four third basemen, 3 or 4 pitchers. I mean, McCoy, I heard he's probably the best player in kickball. He's making a diving catch every game, every inning, really. Someone told me he's probably the best third baseman on the team, and he just plays in the outfield. So they really just have every guy in their team, even their girls. You ask them to bunt up one, they bunt up one. You ask them to bunt for a base hit, they bunt for a base hit. If they got to kick away, they can kick away. I mean, they just pretty much clone the perfect player, just like the Meatballs have. And that's why they're just so tough to beat. My team was exhausted, and they looked like that was their first game. They're really tough, really tough.
Yeah. There was a Facebook thread going on about who you would pick for your kickball draft, and McCoy was one of my picks. I'd scoop him up in a hot second. A couple people told me I was crazy, but I think I'm right. With his kicking, his outfield command, and his leadership, I think he's lights out.
Definitely. I mean, we don't really get to see that much of McCoy except for when he's kicking our ass. But he's a really humble guy too. Very nice guy. Just like a lot of guys on Panic Cards. You kind of want to hate them, but afterwards they're out there having a good time. So there's nothing really you can do.
Yeah. So a top of the contenders is your own squad, Fully Loaded. There was some debate, I guess, as to whether you guys should be the 2 seed. You've had to fight for your position as the number 3 team in the country. Right. What do you think? Do you guys feel like you solidified that spot at this tournament?
I do, but it's not a strong solidification. Obviously, our showing against Panic Attack wasn't what we expected. A loss is a loss and a win is a win, but that one bad inning didn't look good. I mean, if I hadn't watched Fully Loaded play all day and I watched that one game, I would say, well, they don't look very good to me. That's not what a number 3 team in the country should look like. And then you have someone like Flying V who played Panic tough twice in the tournament, so hats off to them.
Yeah, that was very impressive.
We went through our pool. It was probably not as hard of a pool as the other side was. You have someone like IB who didn't advance as expected to, but you look at all the teams they played and the scores to their games, and they could have very well gone 4-0. I think the games they lost were by 1 run, and they tied 2 games. So, it's tough. Sometimes it's the luck of the draw, and maybe we ended up on an easier side. But, victory and defeat was solid. I was impressed with them. They were better than I thought they would be, and OSC was OSC like they always are. So, we came out 3-0-1 with our tie against OSC, which is, nothing to hang your head about. And pool play, single LM was was tough too. We didn't expect BIB to be advancing, and they did. And we were tied 2-2 for I think 2 or 3 innings before we pulled away. And the New York Showerhammers really impressed me too. I didn't really expect much out of them. I know they had a lot of athletes, but we didn't really see much of them in South Florida. Yeah. And that game could have gone either way. One of our girls made probably one of the biggest plays of the tournament to keep us in that game. And that we played 10 times, we probably win 5. So we got lucky. Things went our way, and I thought we played really well. So hopefully next tournament we can prove that we're more than just a number 3 team. We can compete with Panic and the Meatballs. And interestingly enough, tomorrow we play our Ultra playoffs, and if we win our first game, we have to play the Meatballs again. So if we can walk, we have redemption in our grasp.
Well, I know you guys often lament the fact that you have to play the Meatballs all the time, but I will tell you, sitting here in New York, we envy the opportunity that you guys get to play against top competition.
Yeah,
it's great. I think it's made you guys, it has been a big part of making you guys the formidable force that you are.
Yeah, that's what I tell my team. I know it's disheartening to lose to these guys, and we've come so close so many times. We've tied them. We've lost them by 1 run. They've 12-run ruled us. We've been up on them going in the last inning. We've been through everything. But I tell my team, there's other teams around the country that would pay for this opportunity. Mm-hmm. And here we are with it for free. So it's definitely made us better. We've gone through some hard times when they've handed us our ass. But I agree with you. It only makes us better.
All right. So moving on, I think the number 3 seed, if I'm not mistaken, was TI Squaring out of New York. They didn't have as good a day as maybe they would have hoped. What do you think? How did their final result compare to how you predicted?
Yeah, again, TI Square was an interesting team. The team M2S, which I guess is mostly what IB is made of. I know in South Florida they 12-run ruled TI Square, and I didn't realize that until we played them in the I think it was the quarterfinals, and they were tough, man. They were the toughest team we played all day. So I was, and I know DeMattis knows how to recruit, and when he told me that he added all those players, I thought that was a team that would be reckoned with, and they still are. I think the only 2 games they lost were the situation in the tournament. They lost the situation twice. So that's obviously also something that you really nothing to hang your head about. The situation is a top-notch team, which they proved last year. Mm-hmm. And I read on the boards they just beat Panic in league play. So,
well, the situation was next on your list here, and had them 4th. And as you just talked about, they were the only one to beat the TI Square, but then they got say maybe their asses handed to them the next round. I don't know. I would.
Yeah, they definitely. Would they lose 11-0 to Panic?
They put on a clinic.
Yeah, and as in these new rules, this isn't. We're not playing walkaball anymore. It's not. The way the walkaball flies, you can't put up big numbers. It's a pop fly and it's an easy out. With this ball, if you're placing the ball in the right place, you can't stop that. I don't care how good your pitching is or how good your outfielders are. There's no defense for perfect kicking, perfect placement of kicking. Yeah. And when you have teams like that are on fire, I don't care how good you are, there's nothing you can do. And that's what Panic is.
Yeah, that's what Panic did against the situation. Left field, the girls and the guys back there, McCoy and all, or whoever the outfielders are for the situation, they were just taking complete advantage of the left field. And the situation would back them up, another 10 feet and still just drive it over their heads.
Yeah. Yeah, but make no doubt about it. A lot of people slept on the situation because they didn't make it out of pool play in South Florida. But I think they proved in this tournament, despite their lopsided loss to Panic, that they're definitely a team to be reckoned with.
Yeah.
They came out of a tough pool, got themselves a solid seed, and made it to the semifinals.
Yeah, IB had them first thing in the morning. I think we allowed them 2 runners on base all day, all throughout the entire game. We couldn't convert, but their defense was top notch. They definitely knew how to play the situation. Like a situation within the game to get out of it. It was good.
So you had the Inglorious Bastards here coming in next.
We shit the bed
on the admin, but we spoke about them a little bit. But I think it was a surprise to most people that they didn't make it out of pool play. At least me.
Yeah. I'll add this. Our top 6 batters, and we talked about this all last night and Sunday. Our top 6 batters shit the bed. If you can't get on base, you can't win games. Our defense was top notch. We only allowed 5 runs for the day, but we couldn't score.
Yeah, I remember I was talking to Bile on the boards, and he was the one that sent me all the information on IB, and he was telling me that their top 5 kickers were top notch, and after that it may have fallen off a little bit. So in my analysis, I wrote that IB was going to have to rely on the top 5 kickers being consistent, and obviously that was the downfall of IB, or really any team. If your top 5 isn't going to produce, I don't care who you are, you're not going to win games.
Yeah, it was tough.
So I think IB kind of fell into the situations problem in South Florida, and I think you're going to continue to see this trend of top-notch teams getting put in these tough pools, and one of them is going to end up on the short end of the stick.
Yep.
I mean, it could have been, this time it was IB, but it could have been the situation. It could have been TI Square. It could have been Back in Black. And in Atlanta, you're probably going to see it again. But I would also expect to see, is IB going to Atlanta?
We're debating. We're not sure yet.
Okay, well, whether IB goes to Atlanta or in D.C., I would definitely expect a strong showing from them, just like Situation came back from a disappointing pool play situation.
Yeah.
On the subject of... Oh, sorry, Casey, go ahead.
While they were disappointing, you can't always look at the end result, but you have to look at pool play overall. Like I said before, IB, would you guys allow maybe 5 or 6 runs all day?
5, and 2 of those were unearned against TI Squaring, which cost us the game.
Right, and did you lose a game by more than 2 runs?
No.
So, like I said before, they could have gone 4-0, and one play here, one play there, and they're the number 2 seed in the pool in single elimination.
Yeah.
So, it's just so tough. 2 or 3 years ago, we're going to tournaments and beating the crap out of people in pool play. You have your starting first baseman pitching because it doesn't really matter. And now, I pitched 2 full games in pool play. I didn't want to, but I had to. And it's just going to get more tough, and I think that's a tribute to the growth of competitive kickball.
I agree. I think for a long time, not advancing out of pool play was synonymous with being a bad team.
Yeah.
And I absolutely think now it's just something that happens.
Yeah, it's going to happen, and it's disappointing. It's probably one of my biggest fears is to travel, be that excited, and be watching it after lunch. It's just,
yep.
It's. I don't want to ever go through that. So
it was tough.
I feel for IB. Yes.
I know going into our pool, we played as we knew that we were going to be in for a fight the whole time, and we were playing our elimination lineup and going as hard as we could every game, and still barely clawed our way through. We had 3 ties.
When I saw that,
you're welcome.
I wouldn't have believed it. Except that it was the New York Shower Hammer, so I did believe it.
We fought tooth and nail for those ties, man.
I'm sure you did.
You took away our 1 win.
Yeah, and a lot of people downplay ties, but they say it's like kissing your sister, and wins are all that matters. But like you showed, ties are important in pool play, and they can really help you out with seeding. So it's much better than a loss.
And I'll take a tie to a tough team over a win over a poor team any day.
I agree. It shows how strong you are as a team. It's tough. My team, we had the opportunity to go ahead over OSC. We were the visiting team, and we didn't. And I told my team, it's tough to go out there and hold down a tie. It just sounds weird, but it's important because if you don't hold down that tie, then we could have been the 3 or the 4 seed and ended up playing Panic in the semifinals instead of the finals.
Well, speaking of OSC and the eventual 3 seed, the next on our list is OSC. It sounds like they had a pretty good morning and not as great of an afternoon. You want to talk a little bit about what you thought of their performance?
Yeah, definitely. I would have to say that OSC is definitely the best bunting team. Maybe aside from Panic, but Panic doesn't bunt as much because they have such good kickers. But OSC is they're probably the best in terms of executing bunts. They did something that I wasn't even expecting. It's how they scored 2 runs on us. They had the bases loaded with 2 outs, and we're fully expecting them to kick. And they laid down a perfect bunt down third base in between my charger and my catcher, and we ended up messing up that play, and they scored 2 runs on that. But they're a solid team. I don't think they made a mistake in our game. They were kind of short on people, which I think has its advantages and disadvantages. You bat around quicker, but you also have some of your lesser players getting up more. So I think it did play to their advantage in our game. But they still have guys like Wilner and I think Bill is on that team.
Yeah,
and they're just the funny thing about them is they don't look athletic, but they're top-notch players. I don't know how to. That's not meant to be a diss in any way, but they're top-notch. They definitely impressed me. I thought that because a lot of guys had left and gone over to IB that they wouldn't be, as elite, but they impressed me, and they're still that team that can beat any other team on any given tournament day.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I thought our game with them was a battle. I agree that they did execute their bunts really well. I did find it strange some of the situations in which they chose to bunt.
Right.
For one, in circuit overtime, they came up and executed their offense exactly how they would have if we were in a regular game, or a regular inning, and I thought that was really peculiar. When my team gets into circuit offense, we go and try to attack those holes in the outfield, and
right.
They bunted at us, and I'm sure it works sometimes. We do have probably 3 of the strongest people in the field are right in that triangle, and maybe those aren't the ones you want to go after. But it's easy to second guess in hindsight.
Right. Yeah, and I think the whole bunting thing comes again from Walker rules, and I think OSC is an old school DC team, and they still have the Walker rules, Walker roots, the small ball roots, and it's a safe way to play. We've kind of adapted to the kick away style because we play an ultra. But I do think in Kansas City you need to be kicking away with all those holes out there. But again. Everyone has their own way of doing things, and there's no right way or wrong way. And it was peculiar the way they did it with us, and it worked for them. So, you can't knock them on that.
Right on. So moving along, next team, the next seeded team going to the tournament is my own New York Shower Hammers. I forget what you said about us, but I think you gave us a chance and had a few nice words. I thought we had a tough morning, but did okay overall. I don't know. What are your thoughts?
I'd probably say that you were the one team I was the most impressed with that I hadn't seen. I didn't get to see you guys in South Florida, and I was really disappointed by that because there's a lot of guys on that team that I think are stand-up people. I know Maggie from that team. She's a great person. So I really wanted to see you guys, and unfortunately, I don't want to see you while I was playing you. I wanted to see you while watching. But a few people that stood out to me was Carl. Man, that guy is just a beast. I don't remember seeing. I never really got to see Dumpster Fire play. Was he from Dumpster Fire?
Yes.
Okay, because I remember the Ramrod pitcher who was pretty good too. But
that's Jack. He's still on the roster as well.
Yeah, I've never seen Carl pitch, and I think he may have been throwing the hardest that we saw. JC was definitely throwing gas, but he's got a little more speed on his pitch. I mean, a little more spin. But Carl just rears back and throws it straight as hard as he can, and you got to hit it. And the guy was a warrior. I think he drove in the runs for you guys. One run you guys had. The guy was definitely probably your best player of the day. I remember looking over there and seeing Amy at first base going, do they really have a girl on first base?
She's phenomenal.
We're going to run all day on this girl. And then I saw her make a stretching play at first that I don't think our first baseman could have made. Oh, all right. Now I see why. We were still trying to run on her. Thankfully, we didn't because you explained to me how she throws out guys at third. So
yeah, she was really excited when she heard you guys were planning to run on her. She was dying to throw somebody out. She's really,
she probably
really trains hard at that throw.
But I thought Jay Hart was a really tough out. Your leadoff guy, right, Jay Hart?
Yep.
He was a really tough out, and I was impressed with you guys. I thought maybe we would beat you 3-4-1, something like that. But I was worried in that game. Interesting enough, we just talked about strategy, and you guys had first and second with no outs. A lot of people have been kind of critical with the way you guys handled that. Me personally, I probably would have bunted up first and moved some guys over. But if that's the way you guys have done it all day, you can't really blame you guys for that. And the thing is, if he does kick the ball down the right field line, that's 2 runs, maybe even 3 runs.
Right. So, well, I mean, as Jared had pointed out on the boards, it's a high risk, high reward play.
Right.
With the guy that we kick at 3, it's not as high risk as it might be with some other players. I mean, he has he is a very precise kicker.
Right.
I know Adrock got to see a little bit of that action in Connecticut a couple of weeks ago. But that's how we've been running our offense, for a little while, and we've been working on it. And we think it's what we try to do is get a runner in scoring position and try to capitalize as soon as possible. And in that instance, it didn't work out. I guess looking at the conditions, we had a wind in our face, and maybe the bunt up one would have been the better call. But that was the game plan. I'd give the same signal again if I had it to do over. So it didn't turn out our way. But what are you going to do? I said on the boards that the play that really I think pretty much decided that game was when. What was your girl's name that made that throw from outside third base?
Her name's Dana.
Dana.
She was the one that almost made that full extension diving catch against the Meatballs in South Florida.
Yes. Okay.
She's a softball. She coaches softball, so she's got an arm, and I probably would have thrown that into the bleachers.
I mean, that throw was on a frozen rope, and it hit Jay Hart right in the ankle.
Yeah.
And inches before he crossed the plate. I mean, that was just a killer for the third out in that inning. With Carl coming up, that was a deadly play.
Yeah, that kind of deflated you guys and really pumped us up. And without a doubt, that was the biggest play of our tournament.
Yeah, that was outstanding.
Saved us. But going back to your strategy, I don't really think that what you did was wrong because if you look at it in terms of who we had coming up, and you guys were the underdog, it's kind of like when you're on the road, you play to win, and when you're at home, you play safe for the tie, and it's kind of like you guys were on the road playing to win, going for the 2-point conversion instead of the extra point, and maybe if you would have got that one run, you would have went up 2-1, but we had the top of our lineup coming up. And you kind of maybe had to assume that we were going to score at least one as well.
Well, that's what we were thinking.
Yeah, if you would have gone into Kansas City, you probably would have had the lower end of your lineup up. So, like was said on the boards, it was a high risk, high reward. It didn't pay off this time, but I don't really think you were at fault by that, and I don't really think that it was an error on your guys' part.
It is what it is. It's why we play the game, right?
Yep.
So listen, next up, the team that's probably getting the most chatter, maybe aside from Panic Attack, Flying V. They had a great day and had a lot to say about it. You had some good things to say about them. How do you think they performed?
Unfortunately, I didn't. I maybe saw half an inning of them play, so I can't really give a fair, in-depth analysis. Well, what I can say about Flying V is they're great for the circuit. They're great for competitive kickball. Um, I think they caught the competitive bug before they even came down here from South Florida.
Agreed.
But they're on the boards more than anyone, and everybody loves them. They're a good time. I was talking to them after pool play, and they're into it. They're great for the expansion of competitive kickball. I think today they were talking about handing out flyers in Atlanta.
Yep.
And Atlanta is a hotbed for talent. I mean, they're kind of I kind of consider Flying V and Sofa King an important factor in growing competitive kickball because those are two areas that we haven't tapped into, and I think those are the two guys that are the key to tapping into that area. But in terms of how they did, obviously to go 0-0 with Panic Attack into the last inning and lose on a home run is pretty impressive, and then to draw them again in the single elimination round and only lose 2-0. Those 2 runs were scored late in the game. So obviously they match up well with Panic, and they definitely have the horses to compete. One of the things they're going to have to learn is that every game matters, and in pool play, I know a lot of people on here say you got to beat the best to be the best, and it's true. But you don't want to play the best in the quarterfinals because whether you win or lose that game, you are spent afterwards. So you want to do well in pool play, and you can't really be tying to teams that you should be beating. So that's one of the things that they've learned. They're going to learn, and that's how they're going to improve. But make no doubt about it, they are going to be one of the top 5 teams at the end of the year if they're not already. And I see no reason why they couldn't win the Circuit Cup.
Now, do you think they have a chance in Atlanta?
I do.
Playing at home, their turf, fields they know.
I think you mentioned today on the boards the 2 tournaments this year, South Florida and Virginia Beach Kickball Open. The 2 home teams won. And so Flying V could definitely make it 3 in a row. Like I said, they have the athletes, and every tournament they just absorb so much knowledge that it's scary, and they're all into it. It's hard to get that many people into something that quickly, but they've done it, and their girls are obviously top notch too, and that's a key to being successful is having girls that can bunt or kick away in either situation.
Former soccer players, former softball players, all D1 athletes.
Yeah, you can tell just by the way they play the game. But I would say they're not a favorite to win because you're going to have Panic and the Meatballs there. I wouldn't say they're a favorite to make the Final Four, but they definitely can. I wouldn't even say that I couldn't even say that my team's better than theirs. They're really good, and it's a team I'd really like to play just to see where they are and how my team responds to a team with that much adrenaline in a game. And I know they're going to be pumped when they play us, and we will too. So I wouldn't be shocked if they won the whole thing. It would be surprising, but not shocking. And definitely a Final Four appearance for them is not out of the question.
Another surprise of the tournament was this victory in the feet team. Some tough games, but I thought it looked pretty impressive. You guys play them?
They had a tough day. I think they started with OSC, and they were up on OSC and ended up losing that game 6-5, I think it was, which is a tough way to start the day, but kind of promising when you can hang with a team that is that good. And they played us tough. I think they were up on us for a while. I think they were up on us 2-1, and we ended up tying it. And in the last inning, they made what they feel was a questionable decision. It was runners on second and third with 2 outs, and they decided to walk our 6th kicker to get to our 7 kicker. A lot of guys on the team were arguing with each other what to do. And it ended up my 7 kicker ended up kicking in the winning run, and we ended up going up that inning, scoring 2 more runs to go up on them, I think 5-2 or 4-2, something like that. But in the end, I mean, I agree with what they did. I know a lot of people didn't. But when you can load the bases and put a force out at second base, you kind of have to do that. And you got to assume that either one of my 6 or 7 kickers can kick. So you're not walking a person to get to another person. You're just playing the situation. So I can't blame them for that. So whoever the captain's name is there, I would have done the same thing that you did. And I think they played Flying V tough too. I don't remember what the score was in that game, but they lost 3 tough games, 3 games which they could have won. They could have gone 4-0. I mean, they had the talent to do it. They just kind of have to learn to respond well when bad things happen. But I knew they were going to be a good team when I heard No Shoes and his brother Eric were on the team, but I didn't think that they were going to be that good. So that was one of the teams I was also really impressed with.
Another dark horse that had a great day, Back in Black. Mm-hmm. We got a chance to play them first thing in the morning, and they were tough. We ended up 1-1 tie. I know we came out a little stiff early, and they were able to capitalize on that and make some great plays. Those guys definitely know what they're doing, and they got some athletes.
Yeah, I agree. IB saw them too. We lost 1-0. Their pitcher surprised us. Their charter surprised us.
Yeah.
And they were just kicking the crap out of the ball.
Yeah.
Back in Black was also impressive. They were the one team that made the single elimination round that I didn't pick to make the single elimination round. And we really enjoyed playing them. A lot of nice guys on that team. And their passion is just like that of Flying V for the game. You could tell on the boards they're really into it. I was disappointed not to see Edge there. I know he had a wedding. Yeah. I didn't get to meet the guy, but he's always on the boards and has nothing but good things to say. They gave us a tough game. We were up 2-0 on them, and I ended up, I think it was 2-1. I ended up walking one of their guys to load the bases to get to a girl, and she just ended up nailing a rope right at my third baseman, who all he could do is get his hands up and knock the ball down, and they ended up tying it up. And we kind of just methodically put a run up every inning after that. I think they were overlooked because normally their third baseman is Larry in league play. And since they didn't have Larry, everyone was like, oh, well, they're not going to have a third baseman now. Obviously, the pickup of Alvin was huge. He's a great athlete, great ball player. But you could tell that they had the chemistry. They knew what they were doing. They were just kind of missing a few of their horses and just fell short because of that reason. But they were a team that they were probably the biggest. They probably made the biggest impression on the tournament because they were the one team that wasn't expected to go that far. I think I picked them to go 1-3 in pool play, so that's one of my predictions that went terribly wrong. And, another thing I have to say is their uniforms are really nice.
I was surprised by that.
Really nice, yeah.
The girls on my team really loved the girl uniforms that they had. Our girls are like, we don't want to wear the same uniforms that you guys wear. That was the first time they'd seen girls on a team that had different uniforms. So they were really impressed by that. We talked to them about where they got their uniforms, and they were really helpful. They're a great addition to the circuit, and I'm really glad to have them. Hopefully we get to play them again, and they can make it out to a bunch of tournaments.
All right.
Yeah. The last 3 teams, we'll probably lump them all together here. The Embers Club, they went 0-4 on the day. Most Tussin out of DC, I think they had 3 losses and a tie.
Okay.
No, they went 0-2-2.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. They had two ties.
They tied Team Skittles, which is the last team you had here.
Right.
And I guess Just for Kicks didn't show. I didn't see them in any of the results. I don't know what happened there.
They had a tough day.
I'll start out with Just for Kicks. We actually played them in the first game, and they have a few good players. They had a few guys that they were on the Jellystone Rangers. They filled in with the Jellystone Rangers in South Florida. That's who we played first in pool play in South Florida. But they're a mixed match of teams. I got to meet their captain, guy with the Cubs hat on. I actually forgot his name. I met so many people, so I apologize for that. But he's a really nice guy. Their pitcher was actually pretty good. The guy throws hard, real tall guy. you could tell they're into the game. Their girls are out there diving all over the place. It was happy, I'm happy to see them out there having a good time. And even though they weren't expected to do any damage, they were still giving it their all. I'm not really sure, what their plans are for the tournament, for the circuit, or if they plan on being a competitive team in the future. But it was nice to have them there. As far as Mo Tussin, I think you'd have to give them a thumbs up on the day. I mean, for them to tie Flying V, I think they had 10 people.
You have to. They have no pitcher.
Yeah, I got to meet. Fro was in a cast or a sling.
Yep.
Yeah, that was disappointing to see.
Yeah, and we actually met 2 or 3 of their players in 7-Eleven. We were getting ice before the tournament. I asked them what their expectations were for the tournament, and they said hang out by the beach and get a tan. So when you can go 0-2 after expectations like that, and tie a team that a lot of people said could have been the second best team in the tournament, you kind of have to respect a team like that. They didn't just give in. They came out there and gave it their all and had a very respectful showing. As far as just for as Team Skittles, I was really happy to see that they were all wearing different colored shirts. I was disappointed if they were wearing the same colors. That's one team that a lot of people joke around about, but it's another team that brings a lot to the circuit, brings a lot to Virginia Beach, and they've been playing kickball for so long. They're out there, they're having a good time, they're joking around, and they actually have quite a few good players on their team. So I think they scored 3 runs on Flying V. One of the guys kicked a home run off of us, even though it was 5 feet foul, but we won't talk about that. But again, they're out there with a good time. You got Matt Barkus out there, who's a character.
Yeah, buddy.
Yeah, always a good time, good guy to be around. Everyone has fun when they play them, so I would love to see them travel to more tournaments. It's kind of it's relaxing when you get to play a team like that and you get to have a good time, and you don't have to worry about who you got playing and strategy and stuff like that. I remember in their game, it was a situation where I'd normally walk someone, and Kim Dude was up. And Big J, the larger twin, was like, should we walk him? And I'm like, that's just messed up. I can't walk Kim Dude. He's like, that's the whole point. But, yeah, they were a good time, good team to play. And Emperor's Club, unfortunately, I don't even really think I met that many people from Emperor's Club. I know they had a really tough pool. They sent me some information about their team when I was doing the analysis, and they were really excited. Another thing I like to see, teams that are excited, they care about being out there. They're not like, this is stupid, it's just kickball. They're out there having a good time. They want to get better. They're into the scene. So while I'd like to give more analysis about them, I can't, because I just know they went 0-4 and had a tough pool. So.
Well, I could talk a little bit about Emperor's Club. We had them in our pool, and we got to play them. And I think their record really belied their performance. They had a tough day, but those guys can ball. There's some good players on that team. They're excited about kickball. They're organized. They know what they're doing. I know they had one guy who was a former Hofstra football player who was an absolute maniac.
Yeah.
We had a bunch of really close plays at the plate. I mean, I think our score was like 4-1 or something. But it was a game the whole time, and I think those guys really came to play. I think they had a disappointing outing, but I hope they don't get frustrated because we had the utmost respect for them, and looking forward to seeing them at future tournaments. But I don't think you can lump them in with teams that were drinking all day or were just there to party. I think those guys are legit, and they know what they're doing. So
yeah,
they're also real vocal on the board too. Those guys, they get fired up. So
yeah. One other thing I want to say about like teams like Team Skittles, I think they're a good litmus test for what's happening with the circuit. I think if a team like Team Skittles is having a good time and enjoying these tournaments and wants to come back and wants to be a part of it and is telling their friends how much fun they had, then we're doing it right.
Right.
Because it definitely has to be more than just us, cutthroat kickball psychos, trying to tear each other apart with a bunch of ties.
Right.
I think we need teams like Team Skittles to be involved and to be having a great time and to keep, part of what all brought us in the first place, which is like that fun, lighthearted spirit, and to keep that element in the tournaments. So I don't know. I hope they had fun. I enjoyed hanging out with those guys and seeing them at the bar afterwards, and I thought they were cool.
Hopefully, we might be on a Team Skittles. We're too old to play.
Oh yeah, totally, dude. I'm already on Skittles. I got maybe another year in me.
Let me see the cuts, Oakley.
Yeah, can you see these in this light?
I see them. Yeah, yeah.
It's nasty. You should. My knees are even worse, dude. That grass in Virginia Beach was like a parking lot.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's why you got to get the sleeves, man. That's why I wear them. I know I look stupid in the sun wearing sleeves, but
I know I'm not going to make the same mistake again. It's ridiculous. The first shower I took when I got home from the fields I was screaming the whole time. It was awful.
I was like after Florida.
Yeah, so I'm really excited to put Neosporin on these all week and then go do it again in LA. So great. I think this tournament was awesome. I don't know, Adrock, we totally missed you there, man.
Yeah.
Dude, I miss every time I don't go to these places. I get all depressed. I didn't do anything all week. I was cooped up. But, it's just adding more gasoline to my DC fire, man. I'm coming in.
Dude.
I'm ready for you.
Yeah.
Outstanding.
Yeah, the tournament's never the same without Adrock, man.
That's the truth.
Coming in hard.
I have one last question for you, Casey, before you go.
Okay.
So comparing the two, South Florida had 24 teams. 9 were circuit teams.
Okay.
Virginia Beach had 14 teams, 7 circuit teams. Which was a tougher tournament?
Wow, that's a really tough question. I think for the sole reason that the meatballs weren't in Virginia, you'd have to say that South Florida was a tougher tournament because you're going to have to go through one of those teams.
Yeah.
In the Final Four. Obviously, if the Meatballs were in this tournament, it probably would have been Panic 1 and Meatballs 2 or vice versa, and we would have been a 3 or a 4 seed. And instead of playing, anyone but the Meatballs or Panic Attack in the semifinals, we were playing the Shower Hammers. So, we'd have to go through either Panic or the Meatballs to get to the finals. So I think that for that fact, it makes South Florida tougher. Now, with that being said, I think the pools in Virginia Beach were tougher because you have a bigger sample size in South Florida, so you're going to have more pools and you're going to have more teams that aren't as good as the teams in Virginia Beach. So if you take a look, aside from the one pool of death in South Florida that the situation was in, you had and New York Shower Hammers, which they got out of. You had in Virginia Beach, you had a bunch of teams playing a bunch of tough games. So, while we got to play OSC in Virginia Beach and Victory and Defeat in Virginia Beach, we had to play Lock It Up in South Florida, and the other teams, which weren't expected to be as good, made our pool seem easier, while Scoregasm actually came out to be a really tough team. But there was a few pools in South Florida which were a little easier. Panic and Meatballs had a pretty easy pool. And another thing that I just realized is I think it's really tough to compare because now with Flying V really coming on strong, I mean, they were a completely different team. So while in South Florida, they really had no idea what was going on. I think they picked the ball up 3 times for outs.
Yeah.
They were a much tougher opponent this time in Virginia Beach. So while Panic was playing, easier opponents in South Florida, and Meatballs played Flying V in South Florida, and they had what was considered an easy pool. Panic drew Flying V in Virginia Beach and had a really tough time with them.
Yeah.
So I think the overall tournament in South Florida was tougher, and the pool play in Virginia Beach was tougher. So you kind of get a give and take with it, depending on how many teams there are. I think that Atlanta is going to be kind of a mix of both of those.
Yeah, I agree. Verbally, it looks like Atlanta is going to max out at 20 teams.
Okay.
And those 20 the Flying V guys were saying 6 teams locally were looking at signing up, and then you hear from BIB and you guys and Showerhammers, you're coming down?
No, we are not. We could not get enough people for the Atlanta tournament. I'm disappointed. We were hoping to make it to that one. I think next year we are going to plan ahead a little better and be able to make it to Atlanta, and hopefully a tournament in New Orleans or Nashville or something.
I second that.
Buddy.
Yeah, buddy.
I'll see what I can do.
Great. Well, Casey, we really appreciate you coming on, and looking forward to hopefully get you on again to talk a little bit about things in the run up to Atlanta.
Thanks. I'd like to say just one more thing.
Sure.
This is my 4th year going to a Virginia tournament, and I just want to say the people that run it are real stand-up people. April does an amazing job. I don't want to say she's underrated because everyone tells her how great she is, but she really is great. I think that's the fastest that the pools have come out, and single elimination. It's the fastest that the seeds have been done and the fields have been ready. Also, John, I know he helped run that tournament. He reffed us all day. The guy maybe made 2 bad calls the entire tournament. He's a machine, probably the best ref we've ever had. It was the best ref tournament I've been to. So hats off to the 2 of them. Hats off to Shane for coming down. I know it sucks to come to a tournament that you're not going to play in, but he came down, he reffed, he had a big part, and also hats off to Admin for being in control of another great tournament.
Thank you. Yeah, hats off to the team. They're the ones that make it happen. We just show up and put on. We bring the ball. That's about it. Thanks for the words. Appreciate it.
No problem. Thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, guys.
Hey, we'll see you soon.
All right, take care.
Kickballers and kickballerettes, this is the circuit we're talking about. It's not your daddy's country club. We are the competitive home for kickball in America.
You've heard us talk about it. Kickball 365 produces The Circuit, a collection of top-flight competitive kickball tournaments and events where you can win money and prizes. You ready?
Think your team can compete? Register today at thisiskickball.com.
Let's go. Come on. I go on and on and on and we'll take them to the crib unless they're boning. Easy, call them on the phone and platinum Chanel cologne and I stay dressed to impress. Spark and fit your interest. Sex is all I expect cause they watch TV in the Lex. They know, 4:15, left the club tipsy, say no more, except how I'm getting home tomorrow. She's a drop you off with